All right, today we're jumping into a really fascinating and maybe a little controversial idea from the 48 Laws of Power. We're talking about law number 11. It's all about securing your position by, well, making sure others can't live without you. So let's get into it.
To really get what this is all about, we have to start with this incredibly powerful metaphor. It really sets the stage for everything.
I mean, wow, that's a pretty brutal image, isn't it? But it captures a very harsh truth about human nature. The second you've served your purpose, you can be cast aside. Just think about that for a second. The one tool that was absolutely essential for survival is suddenly completely worthless. That is a scary place to be.
So this really begs the question, right? Do you want to be the Cain? We all want to be essential in our careers, in our projects, you name it. Nobody wants to be super useful for a little while and then just forgotten. And that's the exact problem that Law 11 is designed to solve.
Okay, so if that's the danger, what's the defense? The strategy is to weave yourself into the fabric of a situation so deeply that getting rid of you is just not an option. And that brings us to the core of the law itself.
Now, at first glance, I know what you're thinking. This sounds kind of manipulative, doesn't it? But the key is to look at this not as an act of aggression, but as a strategy for survival. It's about building a fortress around your position, making yourself so valuable that letting you go becomes totally unthinkable.
And here's how that plays out in the real world. This isn't about hoarding all the information like some kind of gatekeeper. No, it's about developing a skill or a knowledge base that's so unique that you become the only one who can solve a very specific, very important problem. It gets to a point where they don't just want your help, they absolutely need it.
Okay, so that's the theory. Sounds good. But how do you actually do it? How do you make yourself indispensable? Well, the strategy really boils down to two main paths. So path number one is all about mastery. You develop a skill that is so unique, so specialized, that nobody else can even come close to replicating it. You know, think of that one coder who's the only person alive who understands the company's old system. The second path? It's all about necessity. You find that one central pillar that's holding everything up for your team or your boss, and you become that pillar. Their success is now completely tied to you being there.
And here's the warning, laid out as plainly as possible. This brings us right back to that Cain, doesn't it? If you don't create this kind of dependency, you're just a temporary solution. You're a tool that's useful for a while, and then you're discarded. It's a pretty stark reminder of why your strategic position is literally everything.
But just when you think you've got it all figured out, there's a twist. There's this hidden complexity to the law, a paradox really, that kind of flips the whole thing on its head.
Think about it like this. The moment they become dependent on you, in a weird way, become dependent on their need. Your power only exists as long as they have that problem you can solve. It creates this strange symbiotic relationship where you're both sort of chained to the same situation, even if you're the one holding the key.
So yeah, it's never just a simple one-way street. It's this whole complicated web of mutual need. And just realizing that is the first step. But truly mastering this law means understanding the massive difference between simple dependency and real control. And this is what it all builds to. This paradox leads us to the ultimate goal of the law, because dependency on its own isn't enough. The real prize is something much bigger. Now, this is super important. The book is very clear on this. This isn't about being a villain or manipulating people just for the fun of it. It's framed as a defensive measure, a tool for self-preservation in a world that can be pretty competitive. And you have to keep that in mind to get the final piece of the puzzle. And this right here is the mic drop moment. It doesn't actually matter who depends on whom. The person with the true power is the one who has control. The one who sets the terms of the relationship, who holds the keys to the whole situation. That is the real endgame of Law 11.
So, that leaves us with this one last thing to chew on. We've seen that being needed, dependency, it definitely creates a form of power. But is that really the same thing as having control? You might be holding the leash, but who's the one that's really dictating which way you both walk? The law seems to suggest that figuring out that difference, well, that's the ultimate skill. What do you think?